They don't wear black robes. They don't carry magic wands. And they won't tell you they're working with darkness. Instead, they smile. They ask gentle questions. They act like they care. But behind those soft words is something dangerous, something that can change your life, without you even realizing it. And it always starts the same way, with one strange, quiet question that feels normal, but opens a spiritual door you were never meant to unlock. Question 1. What's your full name, including your mother's? It sounds innocent, simple, even respectful. They might say it gently. Hey, I just need your full name with your mother's name. You pause. You think, it's just a name. What's the harm? But in the world of Sihr witchcraft, this is the first key. You see, black magic often works by creating a spiritual link to you. And that link is strongest when it includes your mother's name. Why not your father's? Because the spiritual world doesn't follow legal names. It follows the emotional and biological bond between the soul and the womb that carried it. That's why people who do magic, fortune-telling, or energy rituals ask for it. Not out of care, but to access you, to pull your identity into a place it doesn't belong. You might be thinking, what if someone just asks out of curiosity? Here's the thing. Witches and manipulators never announce their intentions. They hide in friendliness. They hide in laughter. They hide in harmless questions. But this is how it starts. A sweet tone, a soft question, and a spiritual trap. Our Prophet Muhammad ﷺ warned us about this clearly. He said that anyone who goes to a fortune teller and believes them has disbelieved in what was revealed to him. This isn't just a small sin, it's a serious crossing of a line. So the next time someone asks you, what's your full name and your mother's? Ask yourself, why do they need that? What are they doing with it? Because once that information leaves your mouth, it might be written somewhere you never see, used for something you never agreed to. And the harm? It doesn't knock loudly. It slips in quietly. Days or weeks later, you just feel off, tired, heavy, disconnected. So protect your name, and protect the one who gave birth to you. Because in the wrong hands, those names are not just information, they are a spiritual weapon. And once it's handed over, you might never know what door you helped them open. Question 2. Can I borrow something you wear a lot? It sounds sweet, harmless, almost flattering. They smile and say, I love your ring. Can I try it on? This scarf smells amazing. Can I borrow it just for a day? It feels like a compliment, a kind gesture. What could possibly go wrong? But here's the truth most people don't know. Witches don't always need your blood. They don't always need your hair. Sometimes, all they need is something you touched, something you love, something that carries your energy. In the world of Sihr, black magic personal items become spiritual links. That ring you wear every day, it holds your skin cells, your scent, your emotional imprint. That scarf you sleep in, it carries your warmth, your frequency. To most people, it's just cloth or metal. But to someone working with dark forces, it's a portal. Once they have it, they don't need to be near you. They don't need to message you again. They've already created a backdoor into your spiritual space through an object you handed them with a smile. Many real cases of Sihr started like this. A borrowed hairbrush, a gifted shirt, a childhood photo someone forgot to return. Later, the victim starts feeling strange, disturbed dreams, emotional breakdowns, spiritual fog, and they never realize. It all started when they gave away something small, Islam teaches us generosity, but it also teaches us hikmah, wisdom. Not everyone who asks is pure. Not every compliment is sincere. And the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam taught us, the believer is not stung from the same hole twice. So ask yourself, why do they want something you wore, you touched, you love? Why not borrow something new? Why always something that's deeply connected to you? If the request feels off, listen to that feeling. It's not paranoia. It's protection. You don't have to become suspicious of everyone, but you do need to become conscious. Because once something leaves your hands, you don't know whose hands it ends up in, and you don't know what they'll do with it behind closed doors. In the right hands, your belongings are safe. In the wrong hands, they become tools of destruction. So protect what's yours, because sometimes what seems like a simple favor is actually the beginning of something dark. Question 3. Do you ever feel unwanted or unloved? It usually comes in a soft moment. Not when you're busy, not when you're strong, but when your heart feels weak, when you're already holding back tears. That's when they lean in and ask, do you ever feel unwanted? Do you sometimes feel like no one truly loves you? At first it sounds caring, like someone is trying to understand you, like they want to help. But what if they're not trying to help you? What if they're trying to use you? People who work with darkness know this. Emotional pain is powerful. It holds energy. And when someone shares their deepest wounds, that energy becomes raw, open, exposed. Witches and spiritual manipulators feed off that pain, not to heal it, but to trap you in it. They listen to your heartbreak, not to comfort you, but to collect your suffering, to use it later, in rituals you will never see. Maybe you're wondering, but I've told friends about my struggles. Isn't that normal? Yes, it's human to share. But here's the difference. Real friends help you feel lighter. Manipulators make you feel more exposed. They ask when you're at your lowest. They bring it up when you're most alone. And they don't ask once. They keep asking, again and again, until you open your heart so wide. You don't even notice they're stepping inside. In many real-life cases of Sihr, the process didn't begin with a spell. It began with a story, a confession, a quiet conversation where someone said too much to the wrong person. Islam values emotional privacy. Our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Seek help in fulfilling your needs by being discreet, for everyone who is blessed is envied." Not every ear deserves your truth. Not every shoulder is safe to cry on. Some people are not healers. They're spiritual thieves. They take your pain and turn it into a spiritual weapon. So the next time someone says, "Tell me your deepest pain," pause, step back, ask yourself, have they earned this part of me? Real support doesn't pressure you to pour out your heart. It waits, it respects, it prays for you in silence. But the ones who want to control you, they'll ask questions when you're weakest. They'll offer comfort that costs you more than you realize. And they'll smile while doing it. So guard your heart. Don't bleed your story for someone who only wants to taste your wounds. Because once your pain is in their hands, you may never know how they'll use it. But you will feel the effects. Spiritually, emotionally, and sometimes even physically. Question 4. What time were you born exactly? It sounds like a fun question. Playful, curious, almost like a game. What time were you born? Do you know the exact minute? And many people smile and answer right away, thinking it's just for a horoscope, a joke, or a personality test. But here's what they don't tell you. In the world of black magic, Your birth time isn't a joke. It's not entertainment. It's a spiritual key. Witches and spiritual workers who deal with darkness use your exact birth time to calculate things about your soul. They use it to map your energy, to predict your emotional patterns, to identify your spiritual entry points. They don't need your photo. They don't need to meet you. If they have your birth time, they can begin their work. It doesn't feel dangerous at first. You might even laugh when you give it. But behind the scenes, someone might be charting your life like a roadmap, a map they were never allowed to hold. Islam is very clear about this. Our Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said, "Whoever seeks knowledge from the stars is seeking a branch of sorcery." Astrology isn't just false. It's forbidden because it replaces divine trust with guesswork. It replaces Allah's wisdom with human illusion. And that illusion opens the door to manipulation. When you give someone your exact birth time, you're not just sharing a detail. You're handing over something sacred, a moment written by Allah alone. But witches don't need you to believe in magic. They only need you to be curious. They use your innocence against you. They may act like they're helping you find yourself, but in reality, they're trying to control parts of your life you were never supposed to let them touch. Once they calculate your spiritual patterns, they know when you're most vulnerable, when you're most emotionally unstable, when your energy is high or weak, and that knowledge becomes a weapon in the wrong hands. Some people use that birth time to speak to Jinn on your behalf, to request help from the unseen, to align your soul with rituals you never gave permission for. All it took was one answer. So the next time someone says, "I just want to do your chart. It's for fun, just tell me the time you were born." Pause. Think. Ask yourself, why are they so eager to know something so specific? Why now? Why me? The truth is, the moment you share your birth time with someone who isn't safe, you may feel things shift. Suddenly, your emotions get heavier. Your mind becomes cloudy. Your dua feels distant. And you don't even remember when it started. But it started with one question and one answer you gave too easily. Protect your beginning, because the moment you were born is a moment Allah wrote with purpose. Don't hand it over to someone who wants to rewrite your path for their own gain. Question 5. Will you keep this conversation secret? It sounds respectful, soft, almost like a sign of trust. They look at you and say, "Don't tell anyone I asked you this. Let's keep this between us, okay?" At first, it feels good. It feels like you're being included in something special, like they're trusting you with something private. And maybe you feel honored. But not every secret is sacred, and not every whisper is safe. Because sometimes, keep this secret isn't about privacy. It's about isolation. This is one of the oldest tricks witches and manipulators use. They know that as long as you speak to others, you can get help. You can get clarity. You can escape their influence. So what do? They try to shut down your voice. Gently, sweetly, through whispered guilt. "If you really care about me, you won't tell anyone. I'm only telling you, don't ruin it." They turn your silence into a test of loyalty. But what they're really doing is cutting you off from protection, because the more secrets you hold for them, the more alone you feel, the more confused you become, and the more control they gain. You start thinking twice before talking to anyone else. You carry someone else's words like chains on your heart. You can't speak freely anymore, because you've been sworn to secrecy. But that secrecy doesn't give you peace. It gives you pressure. Islam does teach us to protect people's privacy, to avoid gossip, to avoid backbiting. But Islam never asks us to protect a secret that brings us harm. That causes us stress. That makes us doubt ourselves. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said, "There should be neither harming nor reciprocating harm." So, ask yourself, is this secret making me feel safer or more trapped? Because when something makes you feel guilty, anxious, or weak, that's not a secret anymore. That's a red flag. This is how spiritual manipulators keep people under control. They wrap their darkness in promises of loyalty. They say things like, "Don't ruin this by talking to others. If you tell someone, I'll know you don't care." But the truth is, real trust does not fear light. It can survive open conversation. It welcomes clarity. Only lies demand shadows. Only hidden agendas need silence. So if someone ever says to you, "Will you promise not to tell anyone?" and your heart feels heavy when you agree, listen to that heaviness. It is not weakness. It is a warning. Protecting others doesn't mean endangering yourself. And being loyal doesn't mean being spiritually chained. If someone's secret causes you to feel stuck, confused, or emotionally trapped, then you're not holding a secret. You're holding a burden. And in Islam, you're not asked to carry someone else's burden at the cost of your peace or your faith. So guard your tongue, yes, but also guard your heart, because your silence should never be a prison someone else builds for you. Question 5. Will you keep this conversation secret? It sounds respectful, soft, almost like a sign of trust. They look at you and say, "Don't tell anyone I asked you this. Let's keep this between us, okay?" At first, it feels good. It feels like you're being included in something special, like they're trusting you with something private. And maybe you feel honored. But not every secret is sacred, and not every whisper is safe. Because sometimes, keep this secret isn't about privacy. It's about isolation. This is one of the oldest tricks witches and manipulators use. They know that as long as you speak to others, you can get help. You can get clarity. You can escape their influence. So what do? They try to shut down your voice. Gently, sweetly, through whispered guilt. "If you really care about me, you won't tell anyone. I'm only telling you, don't ruin it." They turn your silence into a test of loyalty. But what they're really doing is cutting you off from protection. Because the more secrets you hold for them, the more alone you feel, the more confused you become, and the more control they gain. You start thinking twice before talking to anyone else. You carry someone else's words like chains on your heart. You can't speak freely anymore, because you've been sworn to secrecy. But that secrecy doesn't give you peace. It gives you pressure. Islam does teach us to protect people's privacy, to avoid gossip, to avoid backbiting. But Islam never asks us to protect a secret that brings us harm. That causes us stress. That makes us doubt ourselves. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said, "There should be neither harming nor reciprocating harm." So, ask yourself, is this secret making me feel safer or more trapped? Because when something makes you feel guilty, anxious, or weak, that's not a secret anymore. That's a red flag. This is how spiritual manipulators keep people under control. They wrap their darkness in promises of loyalty. They say things like, "Don't ruin this by talking to others. If you tell someone, I'll know you don't care." But the truth is, real trust does not fear light. It can survive open conversation. It welcomes clarity. Only lies demand shadows. Only hidden agendas need silence. So if someone ever says to you, "Will you promise not to tell anyone?" and your heart feels heavy when you agree, listen to that heaviness. It is not weakness. It is a warning. Protecting others doesn't mean endangering yourself. And being loyal doesn't mean being spiritually chained. If someone's secret causes you to feel stuck, confused, or emotionally trapped, then you're not holding a secret. You're holding a burden. And in Islam, you're not asked to carry someone else's burden at the cost of your peace or your faith. So guard your tongue, yes, but also guard your heart, because your silence should never be a prison someone else builds for you. Question 6. Have you noticed your prayers aren't being answered? It doesn't start as an attack. It starts as a soft, quiet concern. They look at you with sympathy, and they say something like, "Are you okay? You've been making so much dua, but have you noticed nothing's changing? Maybe something's blocking your blessings." And just like that, they plant a small seed, a seed of doubt. At first, you don't feel it, but later, you find yourself lying awake at night thinking, maybe my prayers really aren't reaching Allah. Maybe I did something wrong. Maybe someone cursed me. And in that moment of pain and confusion, they come closer and say something like, "I know someone who can help you. I know a method, a special way to break spiritual blockages." And suddenly, what started as a question of concern becomes a spiritual detour, a quiet road away from Allah and towards something dark. You see, this is how witches and manipulators work. They don't shout at your faith. They don't tell you to stop believing. They just poke little holes, small doubts, gentle whispers. They wait for the moment when you're already feeling distant from Allah, tired from waiting, exhausted from trying, broken from unanswered du'as. And that's when they move in. That's when they offer you a shortcut, a ritual, a strange method, a visit to someone who knows things. And that shortcut, it looks like relief. It looks like hope, but it's really a trap, because it teaches your heart, if Allah didn't answer you, maybe someone else will. And the moment your heart starts leaning in that direction, you are no longer waiting for Allah's mercy. You're searching for mercy from someone who cannot give it. Allah says in the Quran, "And if Allah should touch you with adversity, none can remove it but Him." Surah Al-An'am 6:17. That's not just a verse. That's a boundary, a spiritual law. No person, no healer, no energy reader, no spiritual freelancer can remove harm unless Allah allows it. No one can unblock your risk, fix your marriage, heal your emotions, or clean your soul unless Allah gives permission. So the next time someone looks at you and asks, "Why do you think your du'as aren't working?" don't answer them. Look inward. Ask yourself, am I waiting on results? Or am I waiting on Allah? Because sometimes Allah delays your answer, not to punish you, but to pull you closer, to clean your heart, to test your trust, to prepare something greater. And anyone who tries to use your delay to pull you towards something dark is not helping you. They're using your heartbreak as leverage. They're not offering healing. They're offering a shortcut to spiritual damage. It's easy to want quick answers. It's normal to feel tired. Even the strongest believers feel distant sometimes. But never let that tiredness push you away from the only one who can truly help. Our Prophet Muhammad ﷺ taught us that patience is light, and that sometimes the delay in dua is not a rejection, it's a protection. So protect your faith from soft attacks, from questions that seem kind but carry poison. Because when someone uses your unanswered prayer to offer you a forbidden path, you're not just being misled, you're being spiritually hijacked. And the price is too high. Hold on. Trust the delay. Trust the silence. Because even when Allah is silent, He is never absent. Question 7. Would you do anything to fix your life right now? This is when the mask comes off. No more soft talk. No more pretending. They look at you straight in the eye and ask, would you do anything to fix your life right now? And if you're in pain, if your heart is tired, if you've tried everything and nothing is working, you might pause. You might think, yes, I would. I just want peace. I just want relief. And that's exactly what they want to hear. This is where the real danger begins, because they know you've reached the edge of your strength, the edge of your patience, and all it takes now is one wrong step. That question, would you do anything, isn't curiosity. It's bait. It's how spiritual manipulators and witches draw you in. Not because you're weak, but because you're human. They offer you results. Fast, easy, no waiting. They say, I know someone who can fix this. I know a ritual that works. Just trust me, it's not haram, it's just energy. But that's how the trap works. They never say the word Sihr. They never mention Jinn. They dress it in new language, spiritual unlocking, manifestation, energy healing, inner power. It sounds helpful. It feels tempting. Because when you've cried, prayed, waited, and still feel stuck, you want something to change. Anything. But not everything that works is worth it. Some solutions are fast because they are not from Allah. They are from those who want to pull you away from Him. And once you take that first step, the steps that follow become easier. First, it's just a name. Then, it's an item. Then, it's a ritual. Then, it's a visit to someone who works with the unseen. You don't even realize how far you've walked away from the light, until you feel the weight of darkness sitting on your chest. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said, whoever goes to a fortune teller and believes what they say has disbelieved in what was revealed to Muhammad. That is not a small sin. That is a warning. Because these people are not just offering you advice. They are offering you a transaction, your faith, in exchange for results. But nothing is free. Every shortcut comes with a price. And sometimes, the thing they promise to fix ends up more broken than before. You were sad, now you're spiritually numb. You were struggling, now you're spiritually lost. And the help you were given was never really help. It was a door to destruction. Allah says in the Quran, indeed, Allah is with those who are patient. Surah Al-Baqarah 2:153. Not with those who take forbidden shortcuts. Not with those who trade His timing for fast results. He is with those who hold on even when nothing makes sense. Even when the weight hurts. So if someone asks you, would you do anything to fix your life? Answer in your heart, no, I won't do anything. I will only do what pleases Allah. Because the pain you feel now is temporary. But the damage of giving your trust to the wrong hands, that can stay with you for years, even lifetimes. Not everything that gives fast results is a blessing. Some doors open quickly because they were meant to destroy you faster. So hold on to your faith, even with shaking hands, even with a broken heart, because the ones who offer you shortcuts to healing often lead you down a road where you lose more than what you came to fix. And sometimes, the one thing standing between you and real peace is the decision to say no to someone who promised too much, and yes to the one who never breaks his promises. Allah. Now listen closely. This isn't a call to fear everyone. It's not telling you to see witches behind every smile, or assume everyone asking questions is planning to harm you. That's not Islam, and that's not tawakkul. Islam teaches us to live with balance, to be kind but not careless, to be trusting but not blind, to have a soft heart but a sharp mind. Yes, the questions you've heard today are real. Yes, they have been used by real people to cause real spiritual harm. But the solution is not panic, it's awareness. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said, "Tie your camel, then put your trust in Allah." That's your formula. You guard yourself. You protect your privacy. You stay alert. And after all that, you leave the rest in the hands of the one who never sleeps. Because no one, no witch, no spell, no person can touch you unless Allah allows it. And no one can protect you like He can. So don't let your desperation open doors that should remain shut. Don't let curiosity become the key to your own destruction. And don't give away your trust, your belongings, your birth details or your wounds to people who haven't earned your heart. Not everyone deserves access to you, not even in the name of healing. Your peace, your risk, your health, your relationships are all in Allah's hands. So turn to Him, cry to Him, wait for Him, and trust that whatever is delayed is only delayed because it's being made perfect. Before you leave, say this out loud with your heart. Ya Allah, protect me from the harm I cannot see. Now type it in the comments so someone who's struggling quietly can see it and feel less alone. Like this video. Share it with someone who needs to wake up before it's too late. And subscribe for more reminders that protect your soul, strengthen your iman, and keep your heart where it belongs, with Allah. Because sometimes one reminder is all it takes to save a soul from walking into darkness, disguised as light.